So, in detail, what do we do? Well, you have to build the capability before you can apply it. So like many innovation agencies around the world, we invest in the underpinning technologies. And what we're trying to do here, as it says, is to build the capability that will enable us to answer the questions raised by those markets, particularly the ones driven by societal needs. Those are huge buckets. You would not find a different list for almost any country around the world. It's what you do within them that's important. In advanced materials, we've done work on composites. In bioscience and industrial biotechnology, in information and communications technology, we've looked at the collection and analysis of large data sets. Those are the sorts of things that we do. In high-value manufacturing, of course, it's a well-known fact that Britain is past its glory in manufacturing, but that's actually wrong. We're still the 6th largest manufacturing country in the world, and although we employ less people, we make more money every year, recession accepted. What we did do, though, is to think about how you answer the sorts of challenges that I've raised earlier. So what we did was we set out 2 and a bit years ago when we started to understand what those markets were and where they were going, and then try and find a way to support the most innovative ideas to address those challenges. You would not find, again, a different list for the most part. Although you could argue that the creative industries and high-value services are particular strengths of the UK in comparison to many other developed countries. That doesn't mean, by the way, that we're going to be funding any innovative banking soon. But we quickly came to the point that these were much too broad to address. So we went back to that idea of challenges and governments answering them. And we developed the idea of what we call innovation platforms. As I said earlier, many of those very large problems are addressed by government. That's what we have governments for, to be fair. And in addressing them, they make changes to the markets, and those markets define the future products and services using that sort of road mapping technique I highlighted earlier. So we've started working on these areas. So intelligent transport systems and services is obviously about congestion busting. Low carbon vehicles is obviously about low carbon transport. You get the idea. So these are the things we've set up over the last few years and how we're working on them. We also recognise the need for the context in which those work. This is complicated. You have to link people together. So we've taken, we inherited 24 what we call knowledge transfer networks, and we basically rationalised those down to 15. Again, those cover all those areas. They are communities of interest that have meetings, talk to us, listen to what we're doing in the competitions. These are the people who we work. There are about 60,000 people already registered through those knowledge transfer networks over the last couple of years, and we've just changed the platform on which they work in the hope of making it a broader church. So what have we done? We've been going 2 years, 9 months and 20 days. One of the first things we did was we changed the process we inherited from the DTI, which in the early days used to take about a year from applying to getting your money. It's now down to about 3 months. We actually published what we call strategies, which are downloadable from the website and such, that capture the conversations we've had about what's important. What would make a difference in any of those areas, and how would you attack them? We've put a lot of effort into strengthening the knowledge transfer networks as an engagement tool. They are our primary route to the community. We've done a lot more of the challenge-led work, and we've certainly strengthened and extended our innovation platforms. We only had 2 when we were launched. We now have 7. But also we're looking at the process by which we engage. It's sort of a half-hour lecture in its own right, but the front end has to be suited to the sector. The time characteristic of a market is really important. What sort of challenge is affecting it? So the way you would address managing intermodal transport with building low-carbon cars is different. And the types of companies are involved. If they're large multinationals, they have one set of needs. If they're small SMEs, they have a completely different set of needs. So there's a list at the bottom of the sorts of things we've done over the last couple of years to engage with a very, very broad series of companies. So, hope I have convinced you that our society is facing a very, very large number of challenges. I hope also you understand that these challenges are really rather complicated. They're not easy to address, they're not easy to solve, but we value the solutions. So therefore, solving these problems will offer a huge amount of opportunity for businesses who can first see the challenge in the first place, identify a solution, and then move to address it. This comes back to a point Gordon made. The relationship between academic research and technological implementation is not a simple one. We need a constant stream of new ideas. If you spend all your time trying to solve today's problems, you will not build the capability that will be needed to address the future problems. We need a mechanism, however, to take the knowledge that already exists that can be translated and implemented to address the challenges as we currently understand them. But we also need a process to ensure that the longer-term needs of our society are actually explored, developed, and are brought to fruition at the right time. One of the things that's happened over my lifetime is that the mechanism of communication between science and technology has kind of got broken a bit. When I first started in industry, the bottom end of industry was very much engaged with universities. We went and looked at what was going on. We discussed, we listened about the opportunities that were being brought up. There are very few large companies who have any form of spare capacity for doing that these days. There are very few small companies who have any capacity for doing that those days. We need to find a better way to make sure that we keep the knowledge at the cutting edge, but we also find ways to measure, to translate and then measure that impact. These are the ways you can contact me if you have any questions. But for the meanwhile, thank you for listening.